Okay, today everybody we're going to be tearing apart a Pioneer direct drive turntable PL-4 model. Okay, no idea how to do this. Can't find a whole lot online. This thing's probably from like 1984, 85, something like that. The problem I have is that the original stylus, which was a Pickering, was not really outputting the audio level that I needed. I don't know why. So I replaced the stylus, and it's better. But I'm thinking there's something else that might be wrong with this thing. So we're just going to tear it apart and see what happens. Being able to replace the stylus is actually pretty easy. You just take these nuts off of the old one, get a model that's compatible, and then take the positive and the negative lines off of the stylus head and back through the tone arm into the assembly and through the wonderful output cables. Now this model, you do have to ground a lot of turntables, and this one is no exception. So just put this ground cable in any screw that's on your receiver or your amplifier, and you'll be good to go. But we're going to tear this thing apart and see what's in here and maybe clean it up and find out what's wrong.
Just a picture of the original stylus head that was on this machine. It was a Pickering, as I stated. All the conductors into the stylus were clearly labeled. I didn't do a continuity test, but we did end up doing that a little bit later in this video. Again, to get this off of there is really simple. You just take the screws out of the top of the stylus head and pull those little conductors off with a needle nose plier and make sure they go onto the right channels with the right polarity, and away you go.
Okay, let's tear this thing apart. So first I want to start by just taking as much of this thing apart as we can, and to get that stylus assembly off there, we just have to take this retaining screw off with a flat, small screwdriver. Not sure what size, but you'll figure it out. By the way, if you have to replace the stylus itself, this thing just pops right off of there. See? Very simple. Okay. You don't have to worry about damaging the needle or anything. Now you got to get this counterbalance off here. At least I'm guessing so. It kind of unscrews, even though there's not threads. And it just pops off there, just like that. Very easy. Don't lose it. All right. Now I feel no screws, and I see no screws really holding this thing together. There's a screw on this tone arm assembly, but we're going to leave that okay for now. So let's turn it off. Turn it over. Oh wait, first of all, just want to show you that it does in fact work. See, there we go. Yay, it spins. And then when the arm gets so and so over here, there's usually a spring mechanism or something in this area underneath here that tells the tone arm to reset back to the off position once the tone arm gets to the central part of the turntable. So again, everything functions on this thing. It's just the audio output isn't as clean and as at a level of that I need to be. So okay, turning it over. Did I lock that tone arm down? I did not. There we go. Probably should have taken the turntable off of there, but oh well. Everything looks like it's mounted from the top down to it. The only thing that I see sticking out here are the feet. So it's very possible that the feet actually do hold things down. So, rules of disassembly: take out all the screws and see what happens. Whoops. Now, see, that's a pretty long screw, so it's holding something down more than just the feet. And there's an isolation mount on here. Yeah, I can already tell that's exactly what it is. So you got to take the feet out to get this thing apart. I am just going to be, it doesn't look like they're particular to a location, but I'll make sure to keep track of them as far as where they go, so I can put them back in exactly the same location. It's just a normal Phillips head screwdriver. Oh yeah, I can feel this thing out. It's not apart here. Nice and loose now. All right, let's carefully swing this thing back over. Right, so let's get this turntable off here. Lovely. take the dust cover off. More lovely. Lifting this thing up, there's all kinds of it. Looks like there's one wire harness there, another one right there that we gotta pull off before we can get this upper assembly off of here, so we'll try to do that real quick. Okay, we got the wires disconnected. All right, there they are. I did put a little black mark on that one so I knew which orientation it goes to when I try to put this thing back together later. However, the tone arm here is interfering with my ability to get this thing, so there must be some kind of a screw or something back in here to get this back part off, so we'll turn around and take a look and see what comes off of there. What is this thing? A plug or something? Maybe just to protect whatever's underneath it? Comes out easy enough. Okay. Interesting, yeah, it's just a rubber grommet for whatever reason. And then inside of there is a, I don't know, what is it? Ah, that is an Allen wrench. All right, so I seem to have gotten really lucky and picked the first one out of this package here. It's a 5/32 Allen key to get this off of here, and we'll see what happens if we loosen this up. Maybe this back weight retainer will just come off of here, and then I can get the top off or not. But as with all disassemblies, slow and easy. Okay, so here's the little cheat to get this thing out of here. You're gonna curse and scream if you don't figure this out, because there's a slot here, right, for this strain relief to be punched through here. Now, I was thinking, first of all, maybe I have to rotate this and slot it out, but then I was like, man, that's an awfully big slot, and eventually, here's what you do. This cover is just plastic, right? So you just squeeze a screwdriver in here and just wedge this apart a little bit, just like that. See how it bends a little bit, right? And if you do that, that strain relief right there just pops right out. So that's how you get the electrical connection off of this chassis. Now it's free and we can go back to where we were. Okay, now we've got that strain relief off of the power, and all the connections underneath are clear, so we should just be able to pop this top off now. Lift up the arm so we can get it off, and up and off. Okay, looks like we got 3, 1, 2, where is it? There we go, 3, there he is, 3. There's one not there, or maybe that's just a guide arm, but we'll take those 3 screws out and see where we go.
So once those 3 screws were out, the tone arm assembly lifted off very, very easily, but we're doing a continuity check here just to make sure that all the signals from the stylus are going through to the output connectors, and to do it we just put a steel paper clip on the multimeter you see over there, set to a continuity test only, and a pair of alligator clips connected to the leads to the multimeter. If it beeps, then we know what we've got. So we'll do the positive and negative side of each channel. So we'll do the right channel first, just testing one lead to the positive pin of the right channel RCA connector, and then you can see on the head itself where to go. Yeah, and you can see we've got continuity there. Then we'll try the left channel, sorry, we'll do the right negative. Yeah, I see the meter moving, so we got the continuity there. Moving on to the left channel positive side. Again, we've just got the terminal from the multimeter. It's a little difficult to get to because it's buried back in the bottom of there, but it's there. And then the negative side of the left channel is probably there as well. Yep, sure is. Alright, so we know now that there's continuity from the stylus all the way to the RCA output connectors.
It may just be that the other turntable just has a better sound, and since there is no preamp in this thing, the level is in fact where it is. Yeah, I think the other turntable I have does have a built-in preamp, and that's why the levels are so much hotter. So okay, we're gonna put this thing all back together because it looks like it does work as intended. I wasn't getting a level output, but again, seeing that we're just directly into the head here, there is no preamp. It's entirely passive, so yeah, we'll have to either build or purchase a preamp before I go into my B chain with this thing. Then we should be okay.
Now it's everything in reverse. We're going to put it all back together, starting with the 3 screws to put the tone arm assembly back onto the base. Got to be careful when you put the tone arm assembly back that it doesn't interfere with the mechanicals that are underneath it. You'll see them when you put it back on there. And of course the cover slips right back on, but you want to make sure that that little spring, you'll see it on the underside of the turntable head there, that there's a spring that kind of goes underneath the tone arm, goes into that slot. That's what helps it to reset once it reaches the center part of the turntable. Once you get it on, you can kind of cycle it and test it to make sure it goes through. Put your strain relief back in there. Now I will say taking the strain relief off and back in is a little bit of a chore, but you'll figure it out. It would help to have smaller hands when you try to put these connectors back onto the motor control board and then the relay to the turntable itself. The turntable doesn't switch unless that relay is engaged, and that's triggered by that one connector where I have the black mark on the white wire. That's what I'm putting back together now. There we go, nice and snug. Make sure it resets. Give it a spin, and there it does. Resets perfectly fine. So that should mean everything is engaged nicely underneath the way it's supposed to be. Dust cover back in just to protect it as we try to put the power connector back into its little nub. Again, just use a flathead screwdriver, just prying it apart just a little bit, and then that strain relief will pop right back in there. There it is. Now the feet. Again, I didn't see a particular order for these. They all seem to be exactly the same. But you can use these to level, right? If you loosen them up, tighten them up, they can be used to level the turntable. Sorry about the fact you have to look at the back of my head. And there it is. We'll put the turntable back onto the spindle. Yep, everything's still connected. It resets appropriately. Put the retainer on for the counterweight. Again, don't know what that grommet's for, but it must be used for something, so it's in there. Maybe it adds to the weight or just protects that Allen screw from falling out of there in case it becomes loose. I'm not sure, but we'll put it back exactly the way we found it. Stylus just snaps on. Retaining screw goes on. Lightly tighten it down. Put the counterweight onto the back of the tone arm, and now we'll show you how to balance it.
So you're supposed to have it so it doesn't fall nor rise. So
you back this thing off a little bit by turning counterclockwise. That's too much. That's just a hair too much. There we go. Now we're kind of balanced. It doesn't fall one way or the other. Then you zero this other weight out on the front. That's a little too much there, so we're going to correct it that way, zero out again. That's too much. Alright, that's pretty good. And then what I do is I start at about 1 gram of weight. It should be just enough to be able to make it go onto the record. Very light touch is all you want. And that actually should do it. That's 1.5 grams. 1.75 is probably better. And that's it. So that's actually balanced. So when we plug it in and get it records on there, we'll see how it sounds. But that's it. We're all put back together. Let me get the dust cover. And the actual turntable. Okay, well, here's the moment of truth. Let's turn it on. And again, I've balanced the tone arm. I'll bring it down over the record. This is a test record, and I'm not going to play that much of it. But let's just make sure it doesn't skate or skip. Oh, I hear audio. And oh, some nice 1980s electronic music. That should be fun. All right, we have audio. Now a little better than it was last time. So, Pioneer Direct Drive Auto Return PL-4 Turntable is functioning, and we got a better output now. Maybe as a result of just cleaning things up and tightening things down, and we're back to working.